Hello everybody, I'm Ajit K. Mishra, your course instructor for literature and coping skills. I'm back again with another lecture on rhetoric and prosody. Before I talk about today's lecture, let me give you a quick recap of what I did in my last lecture. I talked about rhetoric and prosody. I introduced those important ideas to you. I talked about the power of language by citing various examples. I also talked about figures of speech and their basic roles in creating conditions for us to visualize and get engaged in embodied simulations. And towards the end of my lecture, I talked about the rhetorical triangle, while focusing on the three elements of it: ethos, pathos, and logos. I also told you that how each of these elements are equally important to our understanding of the art of persuasion and appealing. So with that in mind, we can now move to today's proceedings. I'm going to walk you through the world of figures of speech today. I'm going to focus on metaphor, which happens to be one of the most important figures of speech. With the help of a few examples, I'm going to do that for you. Then I'm going to focus on another very important figure of speech, that's personification. Then I'm going to talk about metonymy, and then Synecdoche, and that is how I'm going to walk you through today's ideas. So when I do that, we come to the idea of metaphor. So metaphor is in fact a figure of speech that makes a comparison between two unlike things. If I say my friend is a tiger, I'm offering a comparison between two absolutely unlike or dissimilar things, in which there is a human on one side and there is a non-human or an animal on the other side. So I'm offering a comparison between a human and the animal that are very, very unlike, dissimilar to each other. But when I offer this comparison, I'm trying to draw some similarities between them. My friend may be as ferocious as the tiger or the lion. My friend may be as strong as the tiger and the lion. So when I say that my friend is a tiger or a lion, I'm offering a comparison through a few similarities that I can establish. So that's the reason why metaphor offers a comparison between two unlike things. And metaphor is extremely useful in literature for using specific images or concepts to state abstract truths or abstract concepts. I have already talked about this particular aspect of metaphor because it helps us understand abstract concepts. At the same time, it also helps us create images, visual images or visual imagery through words. Therefore, we can call them verbal imagery. So they help us create verbal imagery which impacts our understanding to a great extent. So therefore, metaphors are extremely important, and that is probably one big reason why any discussion of figures of speech begins with metaphor, revolves around metaphor, and probably ends with the idea of a metaphor. So therefore, it's very, very important that we understand metaphor extremely well. I have used a few examples for you to understand what metaphor is all about. Laughter is the best medicine. So laughter and medicine are being compared. They are dissimilar things, they are unlike things, but there are a few similarities. If you laugh a lot, that means it's working as a medicine for you, it's keeping you happy, cheerful, and it's protecting you from falling into the trap of sadness, another basic human emotion. So therefore, laughter is the best medicine. She is just a late bloomer. That means the person blooms a little late. So the person may be a little slow, maybe a slow learner, maybe a slow achiever. So that's how we are offering a comparison between the action of somebody and the blooming activity. Is there a black sheep in your family? We have come across this phrase black sheep many a times. Black sheep, an unwanted person. Is there a black sheep in your family? So a black sheep is an unwanted person. So if there is an unwanted person in a family, the person is compared to a black sheep. And then his heart of stone surprised me. So we are comparing somebody's heart with that of a stone. If you are emotionally numb, you do not feel any emotion, and you do not show any emotion for anybody, you may have a heart of stone. So, which is as hard, numb, dead as stone. So therefore, I can very well compare somebody's heart that is absolutely devoid of emotions or emotionless to a piece of stone. And then she has been living in a bubble. So she has been living in a bubble. That means there is a comparison between life and bubble. So when you begin to live in a bubble, you are extremely, indifferent to the challenges outside, and you're not at all bothered about anything outside. So when the bubble bursts, you suddenly come to face the reality, which may be extremely challenging, harsh, or even painful. So as long as you live in a bubble, you are very, very safe, you feel protected. So if you're living in a bubble, that means it's a makeshift, it's an elusive world in which you're living. So there is a comparison between your life and an illusion. Time is money. How often we have come across this particular expression? Time is money. We have grown up with this expression, in fact, and will continue to, experience this expression as long as we exist. So time is money. Now, time is compared with money. Money is important. Time is also equally important. If we waste time, it will be as bad as wasting money. So therefore, time is money. It's so precious that you learn how to invest it, how to spend it or make use of it wisely. So at the end of our discussion of metaphors, what exactly do we derive? The message that we can derive is that there are so many abstract concepts or abstract ideas. For example, time. Okay, so there are so many complex ideas that we may not be able to talk about properly or adequately using plain everyday language. Therefore, when it comes to using figurative language or figures of speech, we find it easier to establish that connection, and we also find it easier to talk about what we feel about that particular concept clearly. So that's the power of metaphor, and that's the reason why metaphorical intelligence is one of the most sought after intelligences. So IQ, EQ, and then PQ, SQ, so many things. The world is talking about so many types of intelligence. To add to that list, metaphorical intelligence is one of the most important forms of intelligence today. So therefore, metaphor is extremely important. So let's take a quick look at Langston Hughes. So when I talk about Langston Hughes, this extract is taken from his poem Dreams. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. So on two occasions here, a comparison has been offered, and that comparison is very, very explicit. You can see that. In the first instance, there is a comparison between life and a bird. Life flies, so also a bird. How can life fly? If you can hold fast to your dreams, life can fly smoothly. But if you do not hold fast to your dreams, if you let your dreams die, then life cannot fly. Then life will be a broken winged bird. That means it has lost its wings. Its wings are broken now. If a bird's wings are broken, the bird cannot fly. So also life. So in this case, we have double comparison. First, life has been compared with a bird, and then dreams are compared with wings. So if you have dreams, you have wings. If you do not have dreams, you do not have wings, or those wings are broken. So therefore, a bird cannot fly with a broken pair of wings. Similarly, you cannot fly, or you cannot have a good life, successful life, when your dreams are broken. Then we move to the next segment. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. Now life is compared again with a different thing. This time it is a barren field, a field that is incapable of producing anything or leading to any produce. So if you do not have dreams in your life, it will become frozen, it will become barren, so it will be useless. It cannot lead to any meaningful activities, and it will cannot taste success. So therefore, it's important that we hold fast to our dreams. So if I have to convert this message into literal language, plain, simple language, all I can do is to say, always hold fast to your dreams. Without dreams, your life will be unsuccessful. Without dreams, your life will be like a barren field. It will be frozen. It will be very, very unsuccessful. That is how I can talk about the idea in a literal manner, using plain everyday language. Now you can see the difference. So how many images are you able to see the moment you come across these statements, these lines. So how many images can you see? That's amazing. So the moment we see these images right in front of us, the mirror neurons get fired and we engage. And that is embodied simulation. So it makes us engrossed, engaged with it through an embodied simulation. I can quickly see a bird that has a broken wing. I can quickly visualize a barren field that is frozen with snow. I can quickly visualize that. So that's the power of metaphor. That's the power of figures of speech. Let's take a quick look at personification. Personification is a figure of speech in which an idea or thing is given human attributes and of feelings, or is spoken of as if it were human. I have already hinted at personification. There are a few examples. My alarm yelled at me this morning. Who can yell? A human can yell. A machine cannot yell. But when I say my alarm yelled at me, I am treating my alarm as a human being. A human being that can guide me, that can take me to task when I am not serious about myself. Therefore, it yelled at me this morning. So, yelling is the result of the behavior which results from a certain type of emotional approach, emotional experience. The next, I like onions, but they don't like me. So, I am making onions humans, and they can like me or dislike me. Then the sign on the door insulted my intelligence. So the sign is a non-human thing. It insulted me. Who can insult? A human can insult. My phone is not cooperating with me today. So again, the idea of a human, as if your phone is a human, it's not cooperating with you today. Otherwise, it generally cooperates with you. So it's a very good friend, companion. So your smartphone is your companion, a good friend. The day it doesn't cooperate with you, you say it's not cooperating with me today. That bus is driving too fast. Okay, so the bus as a human is driving too fast. My computer works very hard. As if it's a human being that can labor. So my computer works very fast, hard, or slow. So that is how we personify in order to create an effect, in order to create a verbal image. This is an example taken from Stevie Smith, How Cruel is the Story of Eve. See how we get to see personification here. It is only a legend, you say, but what is the meaning of the legend if not to give blame to women most and most punishment? This is the meaning of a legend that colors all human thought. It is not found among animals. How cruel is the story of Eve, or what responsibility it has in history for misery. So the story of Eve, the legend is extremely cruel. How can a story be cruel? The story is not a human. But the idea is, the implication is, the story is extremely cruel. So the story has been personified as if it has been extremely cruel to Eve. So how cruel is the story of Eve? And that's the power of personification. We come to the idea of metonymy. Metonymy is again a figure of speech in which one object or idea takes the place of another with which it has a close association. That is metonymy. So, if I say scepter and crown, so I am talking about the idea of kingship, because we can always visualize a king holding a scepter in his hand and wearing the crown. So, the idea of kingship is derived from this expression, scepter and crown. So, metonymy is a method for writers to vary their expression and produce an effect for the readers, like any other figurative language device or figure of speech. So, Hollywood or Bollywood, the moment we say that, we actually are thinking about the movie industry. So, in this case it is metonymy. Turf, the ground, your expertise. Sometimes you can also talk about, you cannot beat me in my turf. So, you cannot beat me in my expertise. Then press, so associations with news organizations, the press. And coast, association with seaside, ocean area and others. So, metonymy in fact associates one thing with the other. So, it is an association through an idea. Let us take a quick look at a metonymy taken from A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. So, and as imagination bodies forth the forms of things unknown, the poet's pen turns them to shapes and gives to airy nothing a local habitation and a name. So, what does the poet's pen turn into? The poet's pen turns things unknown into shapes and even gives to airy nothing a local habitation and a name. There's a power of the poet's imagination. So, a poet's pen in fact associates us with the idea of imagination. So, with the help of the imagination, a poet can easily turn unknown things into shapes and can give airy things, things that do not even exist, can turn those non-existing things into a local habitation and a name. That's the power of imagination. So, it's an example of metonymy. We come to the idea of Synecdoche. Synecdoche is again a figure of speech in which a part of something is used to signify the whole, or even vice versa at times. So, instead of saying there are 50 students in the class, I can say there are 50 heads in the class. So, 50 heads, 50 persons, 50 students. So, this also allows for variation of expression and produces an effect for the reader. Again, the act of visualization and embodied simulation. So, I can say the White House is going to adopt a stringent approach. If I say the White House is not actually going to adopt that. The executives, the US President, they are going to adopt that approach. So, when I say about White House, I actually mean the President. So, it is a part of the presidency thing in the United States. The Pentagon, I am talking about the US military leaders. Boots on the ground, I am talking about soldiers who always have their boots on the ground. And the last one, behind bars, is a very popularly used expression. Behind bars, that means a jail. I am going to send you behind the bars. That means I am going to send you to the jail. So it's a part of the jail behind bars. The bars constitute just a part of the jail, but in this case they signify the whole thing. That's the power of Synecdoche. Let's take a look at an example. I heard a fly buzz when I died, by Emily Dickinson. I heard a fly buzz when I died. The stillness in the room was like the stillness in the air. Between the heaves of storm, the eye around had wrung them dry, and breaths were gathering firm for that last onset when the king be witnessed in the room. I'll quickly take you through this poem once again. I heard a fly buzz when I died. The stillness in the room was like the stillness in the air. Between the heaves of storm, the eyes around had wrung them dry, and breaths were gathering firm for that last onset when the king be witnessed in the room. So there is an expression in this poem that has been used as a synecdoche, the eyes around. So when we are thinking about the eyes, that means there must be a few people around. So with the help of this synecdoche, the poet has created an effect, because there is no mention of any person except the person who is dead. So that's the power of synecdoche. It can create the visuals so promptly, so beautifully, that we experience this embodied simulation. That's how we come to our discussion of this segment. We are still doing the rhetoric and prosody topic, and we are still left with 2 more lectures on rhetoric and prosody. So I hope you have liked today's lecture, and you must have found it interesting to have a look at these figures of speech, the roles they play in persuasive writing or persuasive speech. So thank you very much for joining me.